This alpha male mindset guru just got sued for allegedly stealing his own company. And this is quite the oddball story, because if you've been scrolling through crypto TikTok or even YouTube at this point for the last few years, you might have seen Luke Belmar, the self-made millionaire who talks about mindset, purity, escaping the matrix, and building generational wealth. And of course, he's the guy who studied.
Tristan Tate pulled up a video, his favorite whiskey, Johnny Walker. What do I do at duty free? Johnny Walker. That night, sipping the Johnny Walker in the war room by myself with him, chilling. Why? I studied, bro. Oh, this guy's paying attention.
And well, according to his ex-business partner, he cared more about sipping Johnny Walker with Tristan Tate than, taking care of his investors. So the guy preaching truth, moral authority, and freedom just got hit with a federal lawsuit from his business partner, who claims that he bankrolled everything and got cut out of his own company.
If you provide value, you get paid in proportion to the value you provide. And I think that that's the beauty that the internet has given us, is there's no more lying. The opportunity is clear for everybody.
Well, that allegedly didn't age well, and that podcast came out pretty recently as well. So here's where all of this blew up, because you have Luke Belmar, obviously now being sued by an ex-business partner and investor, Steve Tan, who says that he was the one who actually built, funded, and operated the entire business, Capital Club, behind the scenes. According to Steve, he's known Luke since 2018. Back then, he says that Luke hadn't even started e-commerce yet and was pitching himself as a social media guy who could grow Steve's personal brand. Steve says that he was sold on the charisma and the whole "I'll make you the face of e-com" pitch, and the vision of building world's largest entrepreneur network.
It's kind of the perfect scenario for me, because I don't want to be the face. I want to be more behind the scenes, because we enjoy building. We enjoy scaling companies behind the scenes, which is why when Luke said, okay, Steve, you guys be like the operators, the CEO behind the scenes, I was like, perfect. You want to be the face?
And according to court filings, this wasn't just like a bad partnership breakup. It's being called fraud, concealed transfers, breach of contract, and a scheme to siphon money into a secret parallel company. According to Steve, the beginning was simple. Him and Luke teamed up to build Capital Club together. Luke would be the face, the branding, the marketing, the content. So essentially, he would keep on posting Instagram reels, appearing on podcasts, and making dramatic TikToks like this.
If you want to achieve success, you're going to have to pay the price. And it won't be cheap. It'll be tireless nights, long days, empty bank accounts, depressing thoughts, isolation, loneliness, tribulation, heartaches.
Hell yeah, brother. And allegedly scamming your business partner. Steve's part of the deal was that he would handle everything behind the scenes. According to Steve, they agreed on a 50-50 partnership, equal ownership, equal stake. But Steve claims he wasn't just a partner, he was also the bank. He says the Capital Club ran into cash flow problems before they even really launched. Building the courses, filming the content, paying the team, cranking up Luke's content machine, and according to him, he kept writing more and more money to keep things moving. $100,000 here, $150,000 here, framed as loans to the company that he expected to be repaid.
It was just kind of part in my nature to kind of like be really, being a really supportive partner. And I just kind of dump in another 100K. Then when 100K runs out, I'll dump in another 150K, right? So, but of course I extended this all as part of a loan to the company, right? Into the company, which I do expect to get paid later on, right? But when I had a call with like our financial, third-party financial advisors, they were like, oh my God, like Steve, like, why do you do that? I said, yeah, because I pride myself as a good business partner, right? And when I just brought it up to look, hey, like, we ran into cash flow problems, right? I put in this money. He just kind of brushed it off. Like, I just like, it feels a little bit weird because any normal person would really appreciate your partner for doing that, right?
So in total, he put a little bit over $4 million of his own money, paid payroll, funded advertising, built the infrastructure, and set up all of the tech that made the company actually function. And I guess it worked. Capital Club reportedly pulled in $4.2 million in revenue in its first 3 months, which just shows you how powerful information products can really be. Like, it makes sense why these guys are selling courses and selling, paid communities, because clearly, it makes a ton of money. But at that point, it looked like a success story. Unfortunately, though, Steve says the cracks were already there. Not just in the partnership, but in the story Luke was telling the internet. Because he later claims that he realized the came from nothing story that Luke gave online did not match the timelines he personally knew from working with Luke.
Honestly, I was like very inspired by his story initially, because that was exactly what I thought it was. Like, oh, $300 in a suitcase came over. And that was the exact same story. Even when I challenged him, after he got exposed, I was like, bro, like, is what you're saying online, is it true? He said, oh yeah, that's true. Like, oh, my uncle, blah, 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 right? And all that stuff, right? Even when I questioned him, he still stand firm on what he said. But I think what people really like was unhappy about was like how he faked his whole come up story. You didn't come from like an extremely poor family, right? And the other thing was like, I think people start catching the lies that he kind of like, said online. And a lot of kind of like people start piecing up together. For example, he said, oh, he didn't go to college. But people say, oh, like people start digging out and researched, oh, you went to college.
Apparently, Luke pushed hard to pull out around $600,000 from the company, even after their own financial advisor said, hey, this would be too much and would strain the cash flow. According to Steve, Luke insisted on taking $600,000 anyway. This was supposedly to buy a house, and then he told Steve that he'd have to wait until the next launch to take anything out for himself. So for someone who publicly talks about having $20 to $40 million, Steve says watching him fight over $600,000 set off some alarm bells, which, yeah, dude, that is a red flag. In 2024, Steve says that he planned to step away from the project. Luke allegedly offered a buyout to finalize his exit. All Steve had to do was hand over the back-end credentials, and he did. So Steve says that in good faith, before anything was ever signed, he started transferring access, payment processors, CRMs, checkout tools, key software, all the stuff you need to run the business. Then he claims the tone completely changed. He started seeing his own admin level being quietly downgraded. Then one day he says he tried to log into his email and found his account was suspended. Shared logins were switched and his super admin status was pulled. And when he reversed one of these changes, he says that Luke accused him of trying to lock people out and even emailed lawyers about it. And that's on top of the term sheet Steve says that he got after the buyout number was agreed on. Because this was a non-compete with around 250 names on it, plus a blanket ban on working with any creator under 40 or doing courses, masterminds, or info products at all. That just sounds like he's trying to exile his ex-business partner away from the entire space. Steve said it felt less like a buyout and more like an attempt to end his career. And this is where the lawsuit begins. While Capital Club was still running, filings say that Luke and his wife Laura quietly launched a rival venture called Gem Hunters. And this isn't after Steve left, but during. And this is where the lawsuit gets also pretty serious. So according to Steve's filing, it claims while Capital Club was still operating, the exact same team was quietly running a second company in the background that's competing with Capital Club? What? Then to make things worse, according to the lawsuit, Gem Hunters reportedly pulled in around $10 million, and the complaint estimates that Luke personally may have walked away with more than $15 million in profit. And remember, Steve says all of this happened while he was still a 50-50 partner. So I mean, if that's true, this isn't just bad business, this could easily be a legally exploitive situation. Then Steve dropped this voice call.
I'm Capital Club's personal brand. We scaled a personal brand. Like, I'm not understanding how you're not getting that. Are you jealous?
No, I'm not jealous. Why should I be jealous?
It sounds like it because I'm getting benefits that you're not getting and you're seeing me win. And instead of being happy for me, you're jealous and you're asking to eat off of a plate that you didn't do anything for. As if I'm not being fair. As if I'm being like withholding.
Bro, go ask around and you'll find out what's right and what you think. I
don't have to ask around what's right or what's wrong. I have moral values. And I understand how I operate. I don't need to go ask somebody else about my moral stance of how I operate, whether I do things right or not.
Oh, so you'll be in an echo chamber of thinking you're always right, but you're not.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I have moral guidance, and I don't need moral guidance from a third perspective to determine whether what I'm doing is right or wrong.
So what you're doing, I don't think is moral.
But what it sounds like to
you think
what it sounds to me like is jealousy. To me, it sounds like you're jealous.
Okay, so Luke calls himself the brand, the value, and the reason Capital Club works, and basically suggests that Steve should just be grateful, even though Steve claims that he paid for the entire business infrastructure. But Luke talking like this, especially when his whole brand is, morality, religious purity, brotherhood, and loyalty, that makes him come across as incredibly two-faced. And I mean, to me, it sounds like they needed each other for Capital Club, as Luke is the lead generator and Steven's the guy who actually provides the value for the customer. Marketing and product, they're kind of like a yin and yang because they don't work without each other. Because If your marketing is great, but there's no product, there's no revenue. And if your product is great and nobody has heard of it, you also end up with no revenue. So now, this is my opinion, but it sounds like Luke used Steven for upfront capital to jumpstart his career, then launched his own paid community after he made some money to run it. Maybe he also learned the ropes of how to build a paid community from Steven while they were working together. Who knows? I am just speculating on alleged information here. Either way, let's talk about Capital Club's actual service, because the website, it reads like a hype machine. We aim to be the largest decentralized network in the world focused on creating, multiplying, and preserving wealth and opportunity for all entrepreneurs. Okay, whatever that means. How much is Capital Club even? Okay, from what I can see, the Capital Club Limited offers $369 annually. Okay, and someone else here is saying, I paid $599 for Luke Belmar's Capital Club. Okay, so the original offer might be $369, and then they might have bumped it to like $599 later on. Then you have another video, so I spent $15,000 to join Capital Club and learn these secrets. Hold up. What? Okay, so pricing seems to be a little bit all over the place. It does, I mean, on the website at least, it says they have 200 hours of courses and exclusive series brought to you by various experts from around the world. Okay, so this is more than just a Telegram. It seems like a very overpriced Skillshare that has a focus on internet money. So, and I guess like the whole networking aspect of it, if that's important to you. Is it worth it? I don't know. I haven't tried it, but I'm always extremely skeptical about stuff like this. On top of this, you have Luke, who's been pushing something called Ecom Society. This platform pushes a waitlist, like an exclusive club that you may or may not be accepted into. This is also similar to how Capital Club was originally marketed. And this is not an exaggeration. Luke's been posting to his story pretty much daily links to the site saying they're accepting applications and not everyone will be accepted. Like the whole scheme seems to be like you're applying for a job rather than handing over your credit card. And, you know, when they finally accept you, then obviously you're like, oh, I'm accepted. I might as well spend money. At the end of the day, it's just marketing psychology. And clearly it works. And this site has the pretty typical language that you see from a lot of these crypto guys. The new era is here. Join the waitlist. Only serious entrepreneurs will be accepted. It just comes across as like a massive funnel, selling access, mindset, and advice. Because remember, with Capital Club, Steve was the bankroll and Luke was the brand. So that's clearly what Luke knows how to do, branding.
You want to arbitrage attention, right? So you need to create a personal brand. The personal brand doesn't have to be you, but it can be your company. It can be something that people can connect to.
I guess that's why you see language like connect with 8 and 9 figure operators, exclusive playbooks, learn the secrets. So I guess the product is just networking and advice packaged as exclusivity, but who knows? It might be valuable for some, but again, I would be extremely careful with information products and communities like this. Regardless, Steve stayed silent for a year. He didn't make videos or rant online. In fact, if you go to his Instagram account, the last post was like 131 weeks ago. But recently, he tweeted his side of the story. When someone weaponizes your silence, that's when the silence ends. He claims that he built the systems, funded the business, hired the team, and was even one who got Luke onto all these podcasts and interviews that made him the brand's face. And most of the replies to the tweet were supporting Steve, backing up that he's a legit guy and a business person, which doesn't look good for Luke. So at least it appears that Steve is a fairly respected individual. And then I guess there's Luke, who allegedly took a whole bunch of the profits, locked Steve out, and rewrote the story. So now we have a lawsuit claiming fraud, deceptive practices, breach of contract, concealed transfers, and unjust enrichment. Steve is suing for millions of dollars, and if he wins, well, it makes videos like this even more ironic.
I've said it once and I'll say it again, that the life that you have is the life that you chose. That where you are today is based on the decisions that you made in the past. So if you want a different life, you have to make different decisions in the current present moment. So it's possible, but you're going to have to sacrifice effort. You're going to have to sacrifice long nights. You're going to have to sacrifice bad relationships. You're going to have to sacrifice that 9-to-5 check in order for you to get to the next level. But it's possible.
Yikes. Yeah. If those internal transfers are proven real, or if a judge rules that Capital Club assets were misused, or if Gem Hunters was really built with shared resources, this isn't just reputational damage, it's a career-ending damage, or potentially at least. I mean, if Luke's entire brand is purity, discipline, becoming your higher self, walking with God, and not being corrupt like the elites, a lawsuit like this really doesn't look good for that. Because I mean, even if just part of this lawsuit is true, the irony really writes itself here. We essentially have a guy who's selling moral clarity accused of hiding millions in undisclosed ventures. A man preaching loyalty and brotherhood, allegedly locking out the partner who helped him build everything. Then on top of that, a business selling freedom funded by someone who allegedly didn't even get paid back. But since I recorded all this yesterday, Luke has made a vague response.
A few weeks ago, a former friend of mine tried to expose me with a fraudulent lawsuit. His name is Steve Tan. On X, I have challenged him to an in-person or virtual live stream, raw, authentic, uncut, discussing his allegations, his false claims, and his lies. He came after me, my family, my wife, my relationship, and the man that hires scams people and decides to steal my business, Capital Club, will be exposed. I'm giving Steve Tan the opportunity to defend his claims, not through some bullshit post, not through some nonsense YouTube video, but man to man. I come from nothing. I have nothing to lose. I'm here to maintain the integrity of my relationship with my family, with my members, and with my friends. Steve Tan, I'm waiting for your response.
Okay, so he wants to have a public debate. My understanding is Steve is accusing him of fraud, deception practices, breach of contract, concealed transfers, and unjust enrichment. And Luke is now pointing the finger back at Steve and says that he pays for women. Hopefully he has a little bit more ammo than that if they do decide to debate, because this whole video seemed like he was kind of like, hey, you're dragging my reputation through the mud, so I'm going to return that favor. Another thing that's a little bit interesting is Steve, from everything I can tell, he seems to be a pretty shy and reserved guy. I don't think he would be the guy to openly try to debate him on a public platform, especially after he sued him. I think this, to me, seems like a strategy to try to win back the public interest or the public opinion, because he probably can assume that Steve does not want to debate him. So who knows? He could be betting that Steven doesn't want to show up to a debate, so it makes him look better in the public eye. But hey, even if they debate publicly, I can only see this getting more heated, which will then get moved into court later on anyway. So yeah, this will be interesting to see how it unfolds. Because as of right now, we have Steve's side. We don't really have Luke's side yet. And if they debate, maybe he'll release that video. Maybe he'll release a longer video countering all the points, and then suddenly we have his side of the things. So if Luke drops his side of the story and suddenly we have both the sides of the story out in the open, I'll probably make a follow-up because, hey, that's added context that I want in the conversation. As of right now, the whole situation does not look great, but I do want to say it's really important that nobody is guilty until a court says so. So I'll keep you guys updated and keep an eye on this. So until then, I'll see you guys in the next video. Drop a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.